Hey guys, Isaiah Hernandez here with Table Media Group. Excited to introduce our new series, At the Table, where we bring business owners, entrepreneurs to an interview with Table Media Group, and we ask them questions about their background, their industry, and the future of their industry. Just really thoughtful, insightful conversations. We talk about storytelling, we talk about owning a business, things that you all should be paying attention to, and just kind of have a good reminder of. So without further ado, our first guest is Kyle Arteaga, CEO and founder of the Bulleit Group, a public relations firm based out of the Silicon Valley. All right, thanks for joining, Kyle. I really appreciate it. It's really awesome to have you here and to be on this call with us. This is, like I said before, the new series we're wanting to kind of get started for basically business owners, entrepreneurs. And I think with your background, I thought it also would be a good touching point for the Latino community too. And I don't think we do see a lot of Latinos in leadership positions, but I don't think they always do a great job at showcasing themselves and telling their story. And I do think with your presence on LinkedIn and what your company's done, you've always done a really good job about being vocal out there and giving great content that's relevant and not just echoing kind of like what other people are saying. You always have your own unique take on things, especially when it partakes to your industry. So that was very valuable. And I thought for sure when we were going to kick off this new series that you would be great to have first, because we already have a relationship between each other and, we already have a familiarity. So I thought, it would be great to have you on here. So thanks again for joining.
Great. Well, thanks for having me on.
So Kyle, you are the founder and CEO of the Bulleit Group, correct?
That's correct.
Can you tell me a little bit about the beginning of your journey there and kind of what led you to start the Bulleit Group?
Sure. And I think just to kind of give some context to this, I grew up in a border community in New Mexico. And when I was growing up, becoming a senator seemed like the only real path to success. The only other options were becoming a lawyer or a doctor. So that's where I set my sights. Then I got a closer look at politics in high school and realized that wasn't for me. I went to law school, went for a law firm, and that dream quickly faded as well. So I had to recast myself. And I think this is what a lot of Latino business owners are kind of faced with. Mm-hmm. We don't see a lot of paths to success. It's not like I had a ton of friends of my parents' friends or my friends' parents who owned businesses when I grew up. Like I just didn't see that. That wasn't an option for me. So I had to build a new path. This was in the late 90s, so politics didn't work, law didn't stick. Tech was something completely new then. It was new, undefined, completely open. No one had expertise, and to me, that was really appealing. So I got into the tech world in the late 90s and watched the first .com wave crash hard in the middle of the Netscape era. So saw the rise, saw the fall, had no idea this was going to become an industry, right? Like back then, like it just seemed like it was dead. That was it. Nothing was going to happen. Right. So I went to go work at Reuters in New York and London because I figured, okay, if this new thing isn't going to work, maybe this old thing, global markets, is going to work. And, as a kid from a border community, it was exciting to work in New York and London and kind of see, talk about African markets and Asian markets, like stuff I just had no idea. Wall Street was totally new to me. I wanted to figure out what all that meant. So I went and worked there for a little bit. But eventually I got told I was too American. I got too ADD, I suppose, and I returned to Silicon Valley. But when I came back, I was expecting after being gone for 5 years that things had changed, right? Like, okay, like this industry 5 years later was more grown up, but it really wasn't at all. Companies had barely started going public. Salesforce had just gone public and they completely botched their IPO. Yeah. People had no idea what crisis was or policy communications or regulatory communications. And these are all the things I dealt with a lot when I worked at Reuters. And so I thought, okay, so that's where the gap is, and that's where I'm going to start it. I wouldn't say I ever said I was going to start my own company. I actually didn't. Like, it was never even a thought in my head. It was more like, look, I don't know if I can work for other people anymore. There's a gap, and I want to fill it.
Right. No, that's really well said. And I think that's something that is obviously seen in your guys' work and your guys' voice and brand. When you made that transition and when you came back into this, was there, like, when you guys started rolling with the Bulleit Group, was there a moment where you realized, like, hey, this is not a good idea. It's actually a great idea. It's going to work. Like, where is that ever that epiphany?
I would say the first time that hit, but just to be completely clear, when you're a business owner, that happens to you almost every day.
Yeah.
And the exact opposite happens to you every day as well. Like every day you tell yourself like, this is going to work. This is going to be awesome. And then 1 minute later, you're like, oh my gosh, everything's impossible. Everything's too hard. And it could be like in the same split second. So just be prepared for the roller coaster ride that it is. But, some of us are adrenaline junkies. And so that works. But I guess for us, what really told me it was going to work is a month in, I just started the firm. It was just me and my co-founder. We got a call from Google. Google had this new division called Google Enterprise. Now it's called Google Cloud.
Mm-hmm.
And they needed help doing customer case studies and some comms work. We were just two people. We had no office. We had no desk. We'd just gotten a logo. Like we really were in way over our skis. And they offered us the job. And to be honest, like for all intents and purposes, probably should have said no, right? Like it was a huge account. We couldn't staff it. We didn't know what we were going to do, but we said yes. We figured out how to make it work. We worked some late nights. We hired a couple of people and off we were going. And this fast growing division of Google just kept growing and growing. And I mean, within a year of that, we were working with 10 different divisions of Google. So that really set us off into the perimeter. It needed credentialing, right? Like we might have the greatest idea until a brand name backed us. No one was going to listen.
Right. Yeah. The credibility on that is just such a huge lift for your guys' business. I mean, to have a big brand like Google to be able to hire you guys and be able to use their name for your resume, your portfolio is just such a win. And I imagine this was when did that product go out? Like late 2000s?
This was 2012. So this was the very early years. But I mean, just to set context, at this point in time, Google was just rolling Google Enterprise out.
Yeah.
And I remember journalists were saying like, why on earth would I trust Google? Like, why would I trust Google with my security? Why wouldn't I trust, the competitors at the time were Lotus Notes and IBM? Like, IBM has got this on lock, right? Well, clearly they were wrong, right? So you got to take all of that into context. I always have been attracted by the idea of something new and bold. And hey, maybe it doesn't work, but that's okay.
So from going from, your guys' founding, there's two of you, you get Google as a client. I'm sure with that success and that credibility, more people start probably knocking on your door saying, hey, we need help here, we need help there. And then you guys are like, okay, well, us two can't be the only ones here. So we gotta grow. And so like the Bulleit Group website says, your team includes politicos, teachers, scientists. What's the magic in assembling people from such different backgrounds to tell these stories?
It's worth considering. When I moved into communications, I was coming from growing up thinking I was going to do politics or law. Like I had never studied communications. I didn't really know what it was until I did an internship with it. I mean, really at the core, it's just relating to people, right? That's the goal. The goal is, can you relate to people? Can you tell good stories? Can you help take a crazy abstract concept and boil it down to something that you can explain to your aunt in Nebraska?
Mm-hmm.
And so if you boil it down that way, you didn't have to study that in school, right? Like someone who's worked on public issues would really be good at that. A teacher, a kindergarten teacher, which was one of the best hires we made early in our career, one of the best writers we've ever had. I mean, if you think about relating with 5-year-olds, I mean, you have kids, you know what it's like. Like anyone who can relate with your kids is going to be a damn good communicator.
Right.
And scientists, like we work with a lot of founders. They're brilliant. They might have patented a million different things that are great technology finds. Can they explain what it is? Absolutely not. Right. So you need someone who understands their lingo and how they talk and how they think and the work that they went through. Another one of our best hires was a woman who studied physics at Reed, and she became one of the best communicators. And now she runs an energy nonprofit. So, finding these people who were very skilled at something that could then translate that topic into others was much more important than having the background in what we did.
Okay, so your team works with very technical companies, robotics, biotech, AI. How do you make those stories resonate with everyday people?
Well, let's take an example. So I know you just had 3 kids. You're strapped for time when you get home, right? You and your wife are constantly thinking about it. If I could offer you a robotics tool to keep those kids busy for just 30 minutes while you're making dinner, I bet you're excited about that, right?
Oh yeah, I'll sign up first.
Well, and so that's exactly the point. Like, don't worry about what you're creating. Think about the problem that it's solving and why it needs to be there. I'll
Mm-hmm.
give you another great analogy. So, one of the clients, well, a number of clients we've worked with are self-driving cars. Ironically, one of the best audiences for self-driving cars is the elderly population who live in old folks' homes. And the reason why that's the case is because they want to go to the store, they want to go get their haircut, they want to go see the doctor, and they have no one to drive them.
Mm-hmm.
So ironically, the people with the biggest objections to self-driving cars became the first users. So kind of flip everything on its head. Focus on what the utility is and not what the novel technology is. And then that's the best way to get something forward.
That's really well said. And we can see this with multiple industries, like on social media now, and probably like you can just see that there's just such a it's oversaturated with so much content that these companies are like pushing out. And there's really great ones who are really good at making sure they get that point across and that they're getting the problem solved in their messaging. But I feel like there's just so much fluff out there. And I think, and we'll touch on this later, but it was like how you said, like we were chasing virality and now that's shifted as more to storytelling and connecting with the people, and people work with people they want to buy from other people, not be sold to, not just buy from a company, but actually from the person behind there or the people behind there working on that. That's just like, it's just like what you said, like, cause I feel like that's been missing. And I definitely see that trend coming back big time.
Yeah, I think it's kind of has to. I mean, if you think about the audience you work for, you work with a lot of realtors. If you think about what a realtor's job is to translate for their customers, what exactly do they need?
Mm-hmm.
Right? You might, and I'm sure you've had this happen before, you might talk to a young family and they tell you, oh, we need a 2-bedroom. And you're like, no, really, you need a 3.
Yeah.
You need to be thinking about the future because
Right.
I know you're not done yet. And, how many kids can you pop into a room? And what about, rooms for the parents? And how are you thinking through all of this? Like, so you have to know your audience intensely well, and you need to gear it just to them. And frankly, you shouldn't care if anyone else sees it.
Let's go into a little bit of some like storytelling red flags. You work with a lot of different companies, startups to more established, bigger brands. What are some of the biggest mistakes you see founders or brands make when they try to tell their story?
I think this is the case for everybody. Like, there's 3 main things. So first, not leading with the why, the emotional core of what you're solving. Like, why does this problem matter? And to whom does it matter? You need to clearly articulate it. In my case, the problem is there's a lot of great technology out there.
Mm-hmm.
Not everyone who's going to use it understands what it is, how it works, and how it's going to benefit them. So that's my job. We like to say we bring sci-fi to life, but we go further than that. We bring sci-fi to life to human betterment, to make your quality of life better. So that's number 1, is you got to focus in on that heavily. Number 2 is people chase short-term attention instead of building a system to focus on the targeted audience. And this is the virality thing you were talking about. Like, yeah, that's great. You got like one big win, or you were in the New York Times, or, broadcast came and talked to you. But if it's a one-hit wonder, like, it's kind of like that big song that you liked when you were in high school that you never heard from that artist again. Like,
Yeah.
what good is that? It's not going to build a sustainable business. You might get a little peak for a second, but if you do nothing with it, it doesn't matter. So that's a key issue that people have to solve. And I think 3 is, and this is the most important one, is you have to connect your story to the actual change you're trying to drive. What does this, not only are you telling your story, you have a call to action. What are you wanting people to do? What changes in their behavior as a result of what they just heard from you?
Mm-hmm.
If you don't direct people, it's just not going to happen.
I think that's spot on. I think there's going to be a lot to pull from to any business owner listening to this, founder, because I think so there's some things that get lost over time because, like we said before, sometimes it's like people are just like, hey, it's about the consistency more so than the messaging. At least I'm getting out there constantly, and my face is always popping up. And there's some truth to that. Like, yes, you're probably gonna, and I'm gonna take this to real estate really quick, but yeah, you're gonna see that realtor down the street constantly posting for you. And then when it's time for you to sell or buy, they may be in the back of your mind. But also, like, what is it that they're actually saying? Like, what is it that they're trying to what is them? What a problem are they solving for you? Like, are they just trying to chase the check, or are they actually going to be able to provide a service that's going to actually be in the betterment for you? And just because they're talking every day, like blurting every day, doesn't mean the person on this side who is doing more thoughtful approach, more about their brand, their story, really sharing how they can solve these problems, doesn't mean they're not the option to go with just because they're not in your face constantly. Like, that's probably how I don't know if that was a good analogy for that, but that was kind of like what I'm thinking. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I grew up in a real estate family. My mom was a real estate agent. I fully understand the model, how you've got to build it out.
Yeah.
And what she did, what she taught me really effectively, was she farmed a couple neighborhoods.
Yep.
Most notably the neighborhood that we lived in. And she sent a monthly newsletter. And, it gave them the stats, like what's going on in here. And so it wasn't just that they knew her name. That wasn't good enough. It's they had to know her name against that neighborhood and that she was the expert in that space. There's realtors who are really good at duplexes. There's realtors who are really good at developers. There's realtors who are really good at land and evaluating land. There's some that are great for single family homes. Like, just knowing what you don't need to know just Isaiah. You need to know what Isaiah specializes in.
Yes.
And why he specializes in that before you make a buying decision. So that's what I would challenge people, especially your audience, to focus on, is not just your name. What is your name aligned to? That's way more important than just your name.
Yeah, you really hit the nail on the head there. Let's talk about some AI, what you spot, what you can see out there. I want to get into this because, as we know, with all of the content we're getting here, all these companies that are just in this huge AI boom. It feels like a big AI like boom, like kind of like if I were to go back to like a couple decades ago, but like, it felt like with the Mac and Microsoft and all those guys in the 80s when they're doing like the computer, like felt like a big old like war, kind of like they were all competing each other, that big boom right there. Then like the streaming wars, like Netflix, HBO Max, Disney Plus, like all these guys. Now it feels like we're in that space with AI. Like all these different companies are all popping out of everywhere and they're all competing with each other. Everyone's solving some type of problem, whether it's email, auto responses, or it's meeting recordings. It's going to be content generation for prompts, pictures, videos, etc. What I want to kind of talk about here though is when you are on LinkedIn, you're on Facebook, Instagram, all the various social medias, can you typically spot AI generated content right away? Are there any red flags when you like see that stick out where you're like, oh, that's AI?
I mean, there definitely are, right? Like the latest one is obviously the M dash, which is unfortunate because I love the M dash. I use the M dash way before all of this happened. Same with semicolons.
Yes.
I'm a big fan of those types of punctuation.
Yes.
And now I find myself having to edit myself, even if I don't use AI, because I don't want to use those. But in reality, like, I guess I take a different viewpoint on this. Do I really care? Do I care whether that's AI generated or not? I think there's a room for AI generation for every person or company at some point in time.
Mm-hmm.
And so you just got to really think about it. What I care much more about is, did it stand out? Is it something is it something that I care about? As humans, we skim all day long, right? Like that's just what we do. We're not actually even reading full articles. We're just reading headlines and snippets and things like that. So, sometimes AI is incredibly helpful. If I'm looking for a new electric toothbrush, do I care if it's AI written?
Yeah.
I really don't. Like, in fact, I kind of prefer it. Amazon does a great job of synopsizing all the comments with AI. Like, I actually like AI writing there. It makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
If I want to know about the new stablecoin legislation that's in front of Congress, I want an actual author. I want a person's name behind it. I want to know that they have skin in the game, that they worked on Wall Street, that they understand the political landscape, that they actually know what they're talking about. Because if I'm going to represent that to someone else, I want to make sure they've done their research. So I think the British have this great term, horses for courses. And that's the way I look at AI generation. Like, we should all be using it in some form.
Yes.
Let's also acknowledge it, but also understand that it has its place and its time.
Well said. Well said. Yeah, it is unfortunate. The M dashes had they had a great run, right? Now
they did. And I hope we can bring them back. But geez, ChatGPT, if you're listening, not in every sentence.
Yes, 100%. Now let's get into more on the AI topic. Let's go back to the Bulleit Group. So when your team And even for your clients, when you guys guide them, to use AI tools, how do you do that without them losing their voice or authenticity?
It's a multi-stage process, but I'd say step one is you have to put rules of engagement, right? Think about it like, I don't know, you're going to enter a new country. You have to understand the new rules.
Mm-hmm.
And so that starts with a really open conversation with everybody saying, all right, here's the tools. Here's what they can do. Let's talk about all the potential use cases that we could potentially use this for. And let's make a concerted decision as a group where it might make sense and where it might not make sense. So that was at least where we started. We started with the policy several years ago, and we actually open sourced it. We threw it on Creative Commons. Anyone can use this, where we just kind of say, here's all the different ways where we use it. Here's where we don't use it. Here's what we thought about. Here's the strategy behind it. And here's how this all works. That gave people permission to play.
Mm-hmm.
That was step one. Step two was we had to train people on it. So we spent a couple of days, and we spend a day every couple quarters, where we just play with AI. Yeah. Let's do this in ChatGPT. Let's do this in Claude. Let's do this in Gemini. Let's play with meeting notes and see what we can do with them. Let's go and research earnings reports and see what that tells us. So we have a set time frame for people to play and tell us what they found. So those are the first things that we need to do. But I mean, the main thing is you just have to realize that it's a supplement. It's not the end goal. You can use it to get started because the blank page is the scariest thing you could ever face.
Right.
But that last 30% in the polish is where you put your own personality to it. That's where it becomes Kyle or Isaiah or your target audience. That's where the magic happens. And so don't be precious about the start. Be precious about the end product.
Well said. And now let's go to when storytelling worked. Is there a project or campaign where you thought, this is exactly why I do this work?
There's one in particular that will always stand out in my head. So I remember getting this call 6 years ago from two early 20-year-olds in North Hollywood who said that they had created, well, actually not call, it started as an email. We moved to a call really quick, but who said that they had created an electric semi. I mean, at the time, this didn't exist. Tesla had just announced that they were going to create one. This was Elon Musk was a hero at this point, not his current trajectory. But, I just thought, okay, you created an electric semi. Tell me how.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we took parts from this and we took parts from that and we retrofitted this and we created it and it's working. And I was like, okay. So we immediately scheduled another call. And the first thing I could say is look, I can't continue this conversation till I see it. I have to see this. I just don't.
Right.
I don't believe it. Who funded this? We did. Who built it? We did with a couple friends. I'm like, it just didn't sound believable, right?
Yeah.
So we jump off the plane. They pick us up. We go to their North Hollywood office, and they took us out on the truck. And it was an electric semi.
Wow.
And it was a good-looking electric semi. And I just thought, this just does not seem believable. And so I asked them, what's the issue here? And the issue is, hey, look, we've talked to FedEx, we've talked to UPS, we've talked to all the fleet companies, we talked to the Postal Service, but no one believes us. We can't even get them to come out and see it. Which, I didn't believe it. So I get it. If you're UPS and you're the head of procurement or you're the head of the fleets, why are you going to listen to these two 20-year-olds? You look them up and they just graduated.
Right.
Why would they be able to do this, right? So we thought, okay, what do we need to do? Well, just like what Google did for us, we needed to credential these guys. And so we thought people need to actually see this. So first thing, we built a video for them, and we had a truck driver take it out in the road and let people ask questions and let people see it, see the electric vehicle. It sounded different. It looked different. It was a totally different product. But more importantly, we invited one of the top tech journalists, Ashley Vance, to come and see it. And we had him with his broadcast crew go for a ride. When that story broke, the story was the number one story on Bloomberg for the week, maybe even the month, got million hits on the first day. And immediately they were credentialed. If Bloomberg says this is real, and Bloomberg could show on broadcast that this truck could move and it was working, and all of a sudden UPS, FedEx, all of their risk went away. They were willing to come take a look, and it changed the whole paradigm. But they needed to experience it themselves. So that was, to me, that was the most rewarding, because it was they'd done the hard work, but no one was going to believe them until a third party validated it.
That's fascinating to believe that someone could build something so like unique and great, and even they, with like as much money as they put into this project, like, you know what I mean? They're self-funding it. They're doing all the work themselves. Like it's just really interesting to think in that perspective that they had a hard time getting any of these bigger guys to be like, oh yeah, we'll hear you out. Like that's insane. I just can't believe that.
Well, and now they're a publicly traded company. So
Wow.
Clearly it's been successful. They have deals with all of these major players. You see their truck all over the place. Like they've done a phenomenal job.
That is awesome. That's a really great story right there. What are some leadership lessons you had to learn the hard way?
I think COVID, the onset of AI, and all the changes that we've seen in the last few years made me rethink completely the way the agency model works, but the way I work in general, right? Like all of us are kind of forced to rethink this. Like, what is our job going to look like in the future? And so I thought the old playbook just didn't really exist anymore. So we had to restart from first principles. What would I do differently if I was rebuilding this company? And that drives how I think today. My main consideration, I don't think leadership is about control. A lot of people think that it is. I think it's about calibration and adaptation. Like, can you adjust every single day? Because especially in today's political landscape and the geopolitics that we find ourselves in, things can change overnight, and you need to be ready for that.
Now let's pivot a little bit. Personal reset button. Is there anything that you do when you're creatively stuck or feel burned out to kind of get the juices going again?
Early in my career, it was running. I need to get back to that. But lately it's been, funnily enough, I've got right behind me a record player.
Oh, nice.
So I dropped the needle. It's kind of like my new thing. And, I really enjoy when things get crazy and noisy going analog. Like for me, it's fun. Vinyl slows the world down. You pick a record, you set the needle, it's a ritual. You kind of have to force yourself to think, and you can't do anything else. It's an experience. And so I've really come to value experiences like that to kind of reset my brain and kind of knock out all the noise wherever possible.
That's cool. I know music's always a great getaway for certain people, and that's great. What record is there? Is anything specific that you like to jam out to?
It changes a lot. Lately, I've been listening a lot to Pink Floyd's The Wall. It's a phenomenal reset. You can just lay on the ground and hear the bass reverberating, which is kind of fun. It takes you like an out-of-world experience. So that's been my favorite of late.
Okay, nice. And so when it comes to Latino identity in business, as a Latino business owner, how has your identity shaped the way you show up in business, especially in today's climate?
I think that's changed quite a bit over time. So I remember when I was first thinking about colleges, this was like in the early 90s, and I told a friend's parent I was worried about being one of the only minorities at some of the schools I was going to. And he said something that stuck with me, which was, you're not a minority if you're the only one. Some of the schools I was looking at, there was like 0.0% of Latinos at the school. And I was like, that's interesting. He's like, you're only a minority when there's a group of you. And so to me, I thought, wow, I hadn't really thought about that. It completely reframed the way I was thinking. And growing up where I did in a border community, success looked like leaving. The only way that I saw to be successful was leaving the community that I was in. I think that's changed drastically. So as a result, I spent most of my career being the only Latino in the room. And for a long time, I tried to make that feel normal and to lead by like blending in. But I think in this political moment where visibility is often met with suspicion, it no longer feels optional to be quiet. You have to not just be in the room, you have to change the room. And the only way you can do that is by creating the room. You can't wait for other people to invite you to things. You just have to create your own room, your own set of people, your own target, and then move from there. We're entering a world where I think underrepresented groups have become the new majority. You probably heard the term majority minority.
Yep.
Let's take that to heart. I mean, if we're the majority, then the room that we create is the one people want to be in later on. Mm-hmm. So younger generations already understand that. They already have more fluidity in their identity.
Yep.
They're more progressive in what they think. So I think it's more about like showing pragmatism and understanding that if you don't adapt, that you're just not part of the future.
Yeah, really spot on. What advice would you give to a young Latino founder trying to make their voice heard in a noisy, often gatekept space?
I spend a lot of time waiting for other people to give me a platform. And the reality is, we have to all acknowledge the fact that you got to make your own microphone, create your own platform. Stop waiting for people. Don't let other people drive what you're going to do. Start building a picture of what you want, start sharing it, talk about what matters to you, say it online, say it to your friends, say it until it sharpens. True storytelling is a muscle. Just like anything else, you got to keep working it. You get better as you try more. So practice it, refine it, keep manifesting the future, and keep telling people where your goals are. People can't help you if they don't know what they are. And so you need to be very conscientious about sharing as often as possible, and realize that even though you might have this amazing path for the future, there's a million different ways to be successful. There's a million different ways to be happy. Know that you're going to adapt and be ready to take on a path that you had never even thought of before. I never thought I'd be a business owner. I had no idea what comms was growing up. Now I love it. I can't have seen another path, but I'm sure there was 100 different ways that I could have been happy.
Let's get into the future of storytelling. What excites you most about where storytelling is headed in the next 5 to 10 years?
For once, well, not for once, but for the first time in a long time, authenticity is beating the algorithm. You still have to understand the algorithm. Algorithm's great.
Yes. Yeah.
But you also have to understand that you have zero control over its changes.
Mm-hmm.
Instagram's going to change. TikTok's going to change. A new platform's going to come up. ChatGPT's interest and prominence over the past few years has completely changed the way that we search for things. You don't have control over all of that.
Right.
You have control over what you know about your target customers, about target audiences. That's what you have control over. So focus there. I think that's the exciting part. Stop chasing reach, chase resonance. Real voices matter, niche audiences matter, smaller circles, bigger impact, and do it on a repeated path.
Yeah, I loved what you said right there. Chasing the reach is, like we mentioned earlier, just so oversaturated with that. So much of that. And you can look at TikTok for partially to blame, I would say, with how their algorithm works and how it just accelerates people so quickly. And everyone's like, we can do that. Like, we can do the exact same thing as those people are doing. They got big off of it. Now let's do that. Let's do that too. And so everyone's pumping out just all of this content, and they're probably, and then like you said, they don't have control over the algorithm. So they're like, hey, what the heck? I did the exact same thing that person did. It didn't get me anywhere. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Well, and if you're looking for long-term impact, you got to think about how you buy. As you were buying products for your babies, it wasn't just one place that you went. You didn't just go to Wirecutter and get a review. You also asked friends and you asked family and you read articles and, you read the newspaper, and there was just a million different things. You went to the store and you saw a display. You've got to think that there's not just one way to go after an audience. You have to think of it holistically. And when you start looking at niche audiences, sometimes that very specific, ad in a yoga studio is better than a TikTok post.
Mm-hmm.
Or sometimes just that whisper from a friend is actually better than, a million Facebook ads.
Yes.
But the best is the Facebook ads, the TikTok post, and the whisper from the friend, and the ad in yoga studio, and just measure, rinse, repeat, and adjust as you go.
One last truth. What's one truth you've learned as a founder that still surprises you?
Live with tension. Understand, this has been the hardest part for me. People who are very aspirational, people who want to do a lot of things in the world, you hit those milestones and you feel like it's never enough. Right? You just want more and you want to do this and you want to do that. So understand that you can be successful, you can have high aspirations, but you can also be grateful every day. That's okay. Understand that you can be one of the best in your industry and at the same time still have a ton to learn. a ridiculous amount to learn. So I don't care how many hours you've spent. It adapts every single day. So you're never going to be good enough. So just that discomfort, it's not failure, it's motion. That's a signal that you're in it. And I really challenge people to feel comfortable in that tension. That's a good thing. That means you're growing.
Yeah, that's great. I'm sure that's going to be reassuring for a lot of people to hear too. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people I can go on about, Table Media Group and some of the challenges we've had, the past couple of years, and where you're just like, this is tough. This is uncomfortable, but we got to just keep pushing through. We got to challenge ourselves and keep that there. You know what I mean? It's a good feeling. So it's like you said. So I think it's nice to know that someone like you guys who have been around for over a decade now, right? Are you going on almost 2 decades?
12 years.
12 years. Okay. Yeah. So a little over a decade, but it's nice that you still feel that, like, you know what I mean? And that's good. And because it's, it's a bummer because you would think it's all roses, all sunshine and rainbows all the time. But also as an owner, it's not. That's the reality. It's like, it's always going to be that for you,
If everything was easy, everyone would do it.
Right.
And the other thing that I try to remind myself is those same issues that you're running into, those same challenges that you're facing, so do your customers and your partners and your friends and your family. Like, they're all facing it too. It makes you more real.
Yes.
So just embrace it, recast it. It's a learning opportunity. Understand that that's just part of the roller coaster ride.
Spot on. Anything else for our audience before you go?
Yeah, I guess the only thing I would say is, like, look, I think a lot about why I'm doing this, and I'm not doing it so someone else can see me. I'm doing it because I'm just not a patient person. I can't wait around. I realized early on, no one's going to hand me a blueprint. I have to go do it myself. People will help, but they'll only help you if they know what you're doing, what you stand for, and why it matters. And so that's kind of your job. Your job is to make sure you're undeniable, that they've seen all of that. So you're listening to this. The challenge I'd give to you is write it down. Write down what you're doing, why you're doing it, why this matters, who it matters, and tell it to everyone you possibly can. Keep iterating. Post it, share it, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your colleagues, tell the kids at the soccer field. I don't really care. Whoever will listen to you, tell them. You'll get better and better and better, and your clarity will get better at it. But that's the only way you're going to succeed, is if you think of it as an iterative process.
Kyle, I just want to thank you again for just doing this conversation with us, being here. And for everyone listening, Kyle gets paid to do this. He gets paid to help his clients, and he gets paid to tell their stories. A lot of this stuff that he's given us right now is just it's just amazing. We got this for free. If you're listening to this, because you're not going to be able to I wouldn't say you're not going to be able to always be able to call him up and be able to pick his brain. You know what I mean? So this is like a really great opportunity for you all who are listening to this to learn how to use this for your brand, for your company, whether you're just starting out, already established. I think these are always things that are going to be relevant for us to keep and to run with our business. And so, Kyle, I just can't thank you enough for doing this.
Thanks a lot, Isaiah, and good luck to all of the business owners out there. Best advice I can give you is, if you don't like the conversation that you're in, change it. If you're not in the right conversations, create it. You own your destiny. Go make it happen.
That's right. That's right. Thanks, Kyle.
Thanks a lot, Isaiah.